Okay. Hi, friend. I am KK Gupta, Director Research in India, and your host today for today webinar. Today webinar is a very important webinar. So we are talking about the way to revive a company from financial crisis. This COVID has played very important role where the cash flow, inflow, and outflow created a major problems. So we call eminent speakers. So I introduce you one by one later on when I ask them to speak something. So this Association of Financial Advisor of India is a non-profit company registered under the Company Act 2013, incorporated on 13th September 21. From January, we started this webinar, and this is our fifth webinar under this series. All the four webinars having a very excellent feedbacks, and people are appreciating that such webinar should be on weekly basis. So we are trying to do it, calling the eminent personality also. So this association was formed by the eminent financial advisors, financial leaders. The main aims of this association is to help the country moving toward development of more effective lending and recovery mechanism for the loan and advances provided by public and private banks and other non-financial intermediary which cater to the needs of the saver and borrowers in the economy. Thus, the financial system can be said to play a significant role in the economic growth. Our main object of the formation of this association is to have a growth in the economy and see that the non-performing assets in the banking sector should be somewhat in a downward trends. For this association, sir, we have decided to discuss the financial matter in every weekly webinars. Financial crisis may have been multiple causes. We will discuss in detail either you're talking about the improper fund management, unprofitable projects, non-productive employees, and irrelevant and huge expenses. Our main speakers, Sri Narang sir, executive directors, will speak to you. What are the causes of this financial crisis and how it can be overcome? Friends, the mission of this webinar is to highlight effective solution to recovery from the financial crisis from practical understanding and experience in the industry experts. Also suggestion on how these method can be implemented for growth. The webinar will discuss about the key areas, effective solution, approach, showcase the point to be incorporated by the finance industry as a whole. The session will be platform for the industry, experts, financial institutions, consultant, and experienced professionals to share their experience and idea in this respect. We are going to discuss various subjects in this, whether signifying of identification of causes of financial crisis, re-evaluations of the business plan and implement immediate effect, contribution to the assets reconstruction, company in crisis, revival. We are with us Mr. Shetty, who is expert in these ARC aspects. So I'm not taking much time. We will discuss as and when the point is raised. My request to all the participants, because as I understand, more than 600 registration is with us, beside the YouTube and Facebook. So I request all the participants, if any question in your mind, please use your question answer and our expert will reply to you. At the outset, I'm requesting Shri Deepak Narang, former Executive Director, United Bank of India. He is MSc, CIB, CFA, and director in so many companies, director of Rare ARC, director of Baroda Trust, and also faculty online trainers for the NIBM. He also gets faculty to NIBM, National Institute of Bank Management, Pune. So Mr. Narang worked as executive director from 1st April 2012 till retirement up to 31st March 15. When the share price of the bank shares went from rupees 23 to 61, worked as General Manager Recovery, General Manager Credit at head office Allahabad Bank, Kolkata, and looking after Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Goa zone also in various aspects. To frame policy of the sale of assets to ARC in Allahabad Bank and sold assets ARC for the first time in the bank. Having rich experience of heading big zone, regional office of Allahabad Bank at Bombay, New Delhi, Chandigarh, Ahmedabad. Joined Allahabad Bank as a management trainee on 2nd January 1978 at Bhopal. Visiting professor in NIBM Pune for 3 years, was advisor to CSB Bank for 3 years till June 20. I think he is the eminent personality with us who is going to discuss about the various aspects why the companies are facing difficulty and having the financial, you can say, having the cash crunch. What are the reasons, sir, for the various difficulty being envisaged by them, and how relevant and essentials for identification of the reason behind the financial crisis? What are the reasons, sir? And can the causes of financial crisis be forecasted as well as whether these reasons can be forecasted? Sir, I also at NIBM sometime. So I also studied the industrial sickness in the banking sector, in the industrial sector. So I also find that the banker is the main person, run manager the main person who can identify the sickness from the very beginning. So I request respected Narang Sahab to give his views about the identification and reason behind the financial crisis. I hand over to Mr. Narang. Narang sir.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. Thanks for the nice introduction. And it's a privilege to be connected with you on this platform and talking to the participants. As you have asked, we are talking about financial crisis, right?
Yes.
No, financial crisis is a nightmare for a businessman. If he is running a business and if he faces a financial crisis, I think some immediate action need to be taken. We need to. Otherwise, unless we take immediate prompt action, as in banking, we have prompt corrective action. Unless a businessman takes a prompt corrective action to address this liquidity problem, he would face insolvency. And insolvency means everything is gone. He has lost everything. So, and financial crisis is not just financial crisis. Financial crisis is an indicator of a much bigger problem in that industry, in that company. And so we need to, like for banks, we also need to identify the problem, take corrective action, immediate corrective action. Now, In this case, financial crisis means you don't have sufficient cash to meet the liabilities as and when it arises. Or maybe that your company has good profit, good assets, good valuation, but still you face financial crisis because it's a question of timing. Your liability may be maturing much before your assets can be liquidated for repayment of your liabilities, and which may lead to financial crunch with that company. So the issue is, the moment you find that there is a liquidity problem, immediately start taking action and analyze the reason, causes behind it. And I would say that it's not difficult to forecast, difficult to see why the crisis has happened. And for this, I would suggest a starting point would be, cash is just like a blood in our system. Unless there is a cash in that business to pay the liabilities, it's going to face insolvency, as I've already said. So timing also have to be proper. So what is the single most factor which would tell you that you are facing or you are going to face? If you have already faced, then the situation is before you. But if you are going to face that problem, you need to have forecast that in future this thing is just going to happen. So I would suggest, free cash flow by sales ratio is very important for you, for any businessman to monitor, because cash flow would happen in the free cash flow. I'm not talking about cash flow, I'm talking about free cash flow. Free cash flow would happen. That means free cash flow is cash flow generated in that business free of all internal and external obligations, and can be used by the businessman to pay shareholder, maybe to pay the banker, so that liquidity problem can be addressed. So the ratio of free cash flow to sales, if you monitor that over a period of time for 3-4 years, you will come to know whether your ratio is increasing or decreasing. In case your ratio is decreasing, then it's a problem for you. You need to sit down, see the reason, do analysis. What would the root cause analysis, I would say. And for thus, for doing root cause analysis, fishbone diagram is what normally is quite often used. Fishbone diagram is that you sit down with head of that diagram would show the problem you're facing, and like fish bones, all those sales, marketing, and finance people will sit down and list down the problem because of which your sales are coming down, or the problem which you are facing. Once you have identified that problem, that means then you will have a shared understanding. Each of the member in that company would have a shared understanding of the problem which they are facing, because of which liquidity crunch has happened, because of which free cash is not being generated into that business. And once you have done that, I would also suggest that do common size analysis of your balance sheet, common size analysis of your profit and loss account, and then see how over a period of 3-4 years, just see what is it, which factor is hurting you most. Whether your debtors have increased without they being realized, whether you are paying credit, whether your sales is coming down, or what are the reasons. That ratio, deterioration in that particular ratio, in case of balance sheet and case of profit or loss, would give you a clear indication of where the problem is. Then you need to address that problem. And another time, supposing maybe that you are doing good, your business is doing good, your sales is doing good, but cash is still not being generated in the business to timely pay your liabilities. Then in that case, you would need to take a short-term loan from a bank. I would suggest do cash budgeting system and tell your banker or your stakeholder that I face a shortage during this time. Maybe you have a seasonal industry, but my cash generation happens subsequently, so I will pay you. So banker, on the basis of cash budget which you will prepare for the company, can give you a short-term loan, which may be paid as and when, cash as per the projections is generated into that business. Now, even if you are one of the best companies, still you need to monitor these cash to sales, free cash to sales ratio, and do common size analysis and compare it with your peer group industries to see that in which area they are strong, in which area you are getting impacted, and try to improve those ratios. If your debtors are money is stuck in debtors, then you have to have a strategy to realize money from the debtors so that cash is into the business, cash comes into that business, and you don't have to, even if you're doing good, you don't have to be complacent about it, because things would change. Change is the only thing which is constant in this world, and unless you adopt to these changes, you may be left behind. If you see, one time Nokia, BlackBerry was one of the best handset which you had. Now Nokia is not to be seen, because things are changing, and if you don't keep pace with the changes which are happening, your competitors may forge ahead of you. You may be left behind, and that would be reflected very clearly in the sales, free cash flow to sales ratio, which would show that your sales are declining for one reason or other. After sales service is not good, new technology has come, cheaper product has come. So all these issues would, once you do common size analysis, all these issues would be amply clear to you. And not only that, doing it with your peer group analysis would help you in understanding the market and in understanding staying ahead of others. I think this cash flow problem is the one thing which you should not neglect. Otherwise, insolvency is just round the corner. So that is what my take would be on reasons for identifying, forecasting. Forecast would be your free cash flow to sales would be a good indicator for anyone to monitor and take cognizance out and take corrective action. And you have to take prompt corrective action as we do in banks.
Thank you, Narang sir, very much. You are just mentioning about the cash. Cash is the blood, what you're talking about in the business for that. And you have to manage the cash. And you're also talking about so many ratios. If you have a proper control over the ratios, the balance sheet, and profit and loss something analysis, then you can have. Sir, my point is, you're talking about the cash budgeting. Cash budgeting is a very important aspect in these days. Earlier, as you are aware, sir, you are helm affair of the banking industry. Then when we're talking about Tandon Committee, Chore Committee, we are talking about 1977. Still that formula is being applied. Whether you talk about first method of lending or second method of lending, but cash budgeting is not coming into picture to assess the limits of the banking sector. Because sir, you are helm of here all because you are work as a MD also sometime in the United Bank. And sir, what are your views? Whether this method of lending should be enforced, or we're talking about the cash budgeting system should play important role for assessment of the working capital limits. What is your view, sir, in that respect?
I would say that we still follow second method of lending, NPBF method, for finding out the limits, how much loan has to be given, and but monitoring part of it, and cash budget is a very robust system. Now for real estate, we do not do it on NPBF method; we do it only on cash flow method. Cash budgeting is really a very robust system, but a little bit of complicated sort of say, because you have to project each and every element of your balance sheet and then come to a conclusion how much is a cash. But nevertheless, even if you do it NPBF system, you have to look at the cash generation from the balance sheet, and starting point can be your profitability, because profit will not pay your dues. It is only the cash which will pay your dues. So even if you are doing NPBF method and you project profitability, but you have to at the end see that whether the company would be generating cash, and they are generating cash, because profit itself is not sufficient for paying cash. In my career, I have declined companies a limit because although they were not showing a meager profit, but their cash generation was sufficient to pay back my dues. So I said, no, I'm not going to give you 3 years repayment. I will give you 1 year repayment because your profit is not sufficient, but your cash generation in the system is sufficient to repay my dues after 1 year. So that's fine. So my limit is not tenure is not 3 years, it is 1 year. And if I may say so, I could declare Vijay Mallya as willful defaulter based on the cash flow method because his balance sheet was showing a loss. But when I looked at the cash generation in the year, I found that he had a cash of 127 crores, although he was showing a loss-making balance sheet. And my recovery demand was only 7.5 crores. So based on the cash flow, I demanded, he refused, and I declared him as a willful defaulter. So cash flow has to supplement your efforts in monitoring. You may sanction limit as per MPBF, not an issue, because then you project. The another issue is that whenever a businessman would come to you, he would always ask for a higher limit. What he was enjoying previously, he would always project higher sales what he has projected in the previous year. So my suggestion would be that don't just accept sales what is given by the borrower. You do regression analysis, project the sales. Once you have come at the ballpoint figure, then look at the forward backward linkages of that industry, fine tune that figure which has come after regression analysis, and then decide the limit, because sales is the starting point for cash generation. Sales is the starting point for any MPBF projection which you do. So for even sales, forward backward linkages are very important to see for an industry, and then project sales, because sales are very optimistically projected by the borrower when they come to the bank for availing limits. So which I always follow regression analysis method to project the sales, not percentage growth that every year you will keep on growing 10% or 5%. So that was my way of doing lending in the bank.
Very nicely, very nicely, sir. Sir, my feeling is that projected sales, once you are projected and banks accept the projected sales, even limit automatically increase because the formula is like that. If
Oh,
you're going for,
MSME is 20%.
sir, if sale is the major aspect,
Yes.
what you're talking about. If once the bank accepted the sale, the automatic limit will work out,
Limit in place. Yeah.
and they will have to give limits.
Yeah.
Sir, my only submission to you, you have some practical, some experience with you, where you feel that company having a cash, that you are talking about in one case, has no cash surplus is there, you can say cash generation is there, still we are increasing limits, whether it would lead to a sickness in the industry. What do you feel, sir? If a cash surplus not there, only inventory is there, receivable is there, current ratio is 1.33, or cash generation is not there, still we are enhancing the limits. We are talking about the current ratio 1.33, still cash is not generation is not there. Tuesday party is very good because current ratio is 1.33, debt equity is 2 to 1, and we are talking about that. Sir, your practical experience, just I want to know your practical experience so that the participant who is listening to you should gain something from your experience, sir.
That is what I say, that MPGF method would only look at the assets, sales is the starting point, but do not forget to look at the, because once he gives you the balance sheet for the previous year, look at the cash generation which has happened. Well, that is what I already did when I was at United Bank, and I was free to decide whether to lend or not because I was heading that bank. So I looked at the cash flow, cash generation in the balance sheet to fix my repayment. First of all, even if I lend, I have to match my repayment with the cash generation which is happening in that company. In one case, when I was quite junior, I found that a school was having a problem in repayment, although it was a good school. Then I realized that we bank had fixed monthly repayment, whereas fees was being recovered quarterly from the students. So how can that mismatch can be corrected if we look at the cash generation, and if we go further, look at cash budgeting to see Where is the deficit? If there is a deficit, yes, I have financed those companies where there was a cash deficit for some time, and I've given them limit, although there was an opposition from my juniors. No, this company should not be supported. I said, no, that is to be supported because they are having a mismatch initially during these period, but after that there is a sufficient cash generation. So cash generation should supplement your analysis so that company a good company is supported, and the company which may be only showing aside no cash generation is looked into with microscope. Then what is happening in that?
Sir, thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. What if I want to say? You are excellent, sir. So now coming to Shri
Thank you.
Daljit Dogra, MD, CEO, Jolaston Cooperative Bank Limited, ex-senior vice president, head of transaction banking, Western India, Axis Bank Limited. Mr. Dogra is BSc Medical, University rank holder, CIAB, postgraduate diploma in finance, project financing, management development program. He attended so many training, various training, including IIM, Ahmedabad, and Calcutta. A career banker around 43 years of experience across all sector of banking, public, private sector, cooperative. He has a lead large businesses gaining expertise in credit, trade, forex, distribution of assets, and liability. He has handled many challenging assignments successfully, turning around business. Credit is favorite area. I know Mr. Dogra from the beginning when I was in Chandigarh from Ludhiana. So he's expert in credit and he find out so many frauds deducted from the balance sheet itself. I think he's expert in these areas. Dogra sir, that's I want to ask you. What are the indication of implementing financial crisis? How you feel? What are your indications? How you distinguish a long-term problem from a temporary setback? Uh, have you any views, sir, for this? Dogra sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Since we are discussing, sir, about MSME sector, I'll just use 1 or 2 minutes to put things in perspective. Now, we are talking about 6 crore 34 lakh units which are in MSME sector. And out of that, 99% are micro units. When we say micro units, means the investment is up to 1 crore and the turnover is 5 crore. So the more than 99% population of MSME is in micro space. And the importance of this sector is that around 30% of the GDP of the country is contributed by MSME. Around 48% of exports of the country are coming from MSME sector. And around 45% of the manufacturing output of the country is coming from MSME sector. So this is the contribution of MSME, and 99% is the population of micro units where the turnover is 5 crore. And the employment which MSME is giving is around 11 crore. And again, 97% of that is in micro segment. So when we speak of MSME, I think the micro part where the turnover is up to 5 crore, where the equipment investment limit is 1 crore, that is very, very significant and very, very important area. And almost half of these units are in rural area, half of these units are in urban area. UP, West Bengal, and Maharashtra, they are the top. Tamil Nadu, they are the top states where these MSME sectors are there. Now, the challenges, impending financial crisis of the MSME unit. Historically, if we look at right from Dr. P.J. Naik recommendation, inadequacy of institutional finance to MSME sector, earlier SSI sector, has been one of the biggest challenges which we are yet to resolve. We are yet to solve that problem, because even today, 84% of the finance, which is whopping 58 lakh crore, is coming from informal sector. And we know that informal sector It may be very swift to give the credit, but it is very costly credit. Now, coming back, how we can visualize whether the financial crisis is coming on a particular unit. Now, we have to understand the environment, the ecosystem in which they work. Small units, mostly they supply to one or two big customers. So the bargaining power is lopsided. I know many units when somebody is supplying to say Maruti Udyog, somebody is supplying like in Pune, auto part components, they are supplying to big customers. Though government has enacted various laws that 45 days payment should be made, but in practice it does not happen. Some of the entrepreneurs, they are not aware, and others who are aware, they don't know how to enforce it because they don't want to lose the customer. So on one hand, they don't get adequate credit from the institutions, they do not get adequate credit from the market, and on the other hand, they have to extend credit to their customers, and if they do not extend that credit, then they do not know where to go because they are in concentration risk space. They can't they don't find an alternate buyer. So that is one of the biggest challenges which is facing these units. Now, when we add to this the volatility of the raw material cost, then that is borne by the entrepreneur, MSME entrepreneur, because his buyer may revise the rates after 6 months, after 1 year. And some of the MSME customers, then they end up doing job work for the large customers of theirs because they can't withstand the volatility of their raw material prices. They can't pass it on to the customer. So some of the signals when they come, when the receivables start getting stuck up, so they have to keep on supplying material to their customers, but the money comes after 90 days, 120 days. So there is a mismatch. Now this mismatch can be met by finance from some institutions or from some private lenders. If it comes from a private lender, it is costly. That wipes out, that diminishes the profitability of the unit, and banks are not very willing to fund at least the micro units. There was a study by College of Agriculture Banking, Pune, done in June 2018, and it was found when they interviewed some of the entrepreneurs, bankers, NBFCs, and it turned out that large banks are not very willing to extend credit because these people, they do not have credit history. Micro and small units are comfortable with cooperative banks because they find that they get personalized services. But again, the sanction takes time. The turnaround time of cooperative banks is not that good. NBFCs, that is good, but the funds are costly. So these are the basic findings of a study team of College of Agriculture Banking, Pune. Now, when the unit starts facing this liquidity problem and he has nowhere to go, so the chances of his default, the impending financial crisis is almost unavoidable. So unless he dips into his savings or he arranges some fund, it's very difficult to carry on. And then ultimately he would come back to only providing job work to the customers, and there is no scalability in his business. That's why we find that most of the small units, they remain small units or micro units only. When we say 99.4% units are in micro and small space, micro space, it shows itself that the scalability for MSME is very low. They have, even if they make very good product, but they are not in a position to market. They don't have second or third customer. So marketing is another challenge. They do not have the awareness of various government schemes. Even if they are exporting, they are not hedging. I remember a case, very good steel foundry, way back when I was in Central Bank of India, traditionally very strong. They were supplying Kesno bogies. They're one of the young boys of the family. They became MS. He did MS from US, came back, and he wanted to have very high quality steel manufacturing to be done in his that foundry. It was a very good step, but where the unit went wrong, that they borrowed the funds in foreign currency, and they didn't hedge that. And the adverse currency fluctuation took the toll to an extent that unit had to be closed, because the amount outstanding kept on increasing because of adverse fluctuation. The case in point of which I'm trying to make out here is that even the best people in MSME, they are not aware of the financial implication. They are good on technical side. They can make out very good products, but they do not have the financial, I would say, understanding. So there the role of a financial advisor comes into play. There are certain, like we are talking too much these days of COVID-19, it is a pandemic, it is 3 years, that's fine. But before pandemic also, MSME sector has been reeling under a lot of pressures. COVID has only compounded their, I would say, problems. 1.5 years back, I think in April 20, I met a customer. I know him, but I would not name it in open forum. He said in last 20 years, it is the first time we have booked a loss in a month because labor had to be paid. There was no orders, and the overheads remained where they were, and there was no sale. So in 1 or 2 months of pandemic, though so fragile is a unit, MSM unit, the 20 years old unit could show loss in just 1 or 2 months of pandemic. So that is the fragility of the sector. When the orders start drying up, when the receivables are not coming, that is just the event, I would say, the forewarning of the large-scale financial crisis coming onto an MSC unit. And at that point in time, those 3-4 months, see, we understand that short-term liquidity problem becomes a major problem, as Mr. Narang has said, that if there is a liquidity problem, if he's not able to solve it quickly, then he gets into insolvency and means everything is lost. So that short-term finance, that short-term mismatch, he gets 1 month credit and he has to extend 3 months credit. He does not have financial advisor at hand. He is not aware of the various government schemes. He does not know how to market his product. He is depending upon 1 or 2 customers. So this is a whole ecosystem has to change. It is not only one issue. Now, if you look at this, then this is look as if this problem is not solvable. Whether it is going to be like this one. And then he comes, if at all they have the limits from the bank, he comes to the bank and asks for the OD, overdrawings, and banks, because they do not have adequate collaterals, they are very hesitant, and banks want to lend to a safe borrower. And these people, again, I would emphasize that 99% of MSE unit who are micro units, if we are able to address that large base of the pyramid, MSME sector will flourish. And for that, we have to have good financial advisors for them to guide. Now, affordability, availability, reliability of a financial advisor, whether it could be annuity-based advice or it could be, because definitely a good quality financial advisor, these units cannot, they cannot avail. And we see some odd cases where some IIT graduate or some other young entrepreneur who provides some solution to them, showcases their products and help them in marketing. But that is very few, very far in between. And this sector is so important that 11 crore employees, and the employees are 80-20%. 80% are males, 20% are females. And the contribution to the economy is huge. And if you look at the global position, the contribution in the GDP of developed economy is 50%. Ours is 29-30%. So there is almost huge 20% growth opportunities. And if you look at the market of Indian demography, then this can be even 60%. So the problems, the financial problems is not the financial problem alone. These are the marketing problems. These are the funding problem. These are the problems of availability of cost-effective credit, timely help, and this would be, they don't have collaterals. So somewhere, and the awareness of the entrepreneur, this is a complex ecosystem, and this is since very complex. That's why for decades it has remained unresolved in spite of all the well-meaning efforts of the government, of the regulators, of the bankers, and I would say all other players also. But this remains to be resolved when we look at 84% of the credit available to MSME is coming from informal sector, not from the formal sector. And post nationalization, when we see the spread of the banking, and still we are talking about these numbers, I think there is something very seriously waiting to be corrected. So I would say that there has to be a complete list of the solutions, not across financial, but on marketing, on literacy, on advisory, and also the awareness of the entrepreneurs. There has to have some hand holding, and I think the platforms like these, the Association of Financial Advisors, they have a role to play. They may not have very lucrative remunerations when they are dealing with MSMEs, but they definitely can play on the volumes. They can definitely play on the volumes instead of advising one or two big ones. In any way, there are only 5,000 big, I would say, medium scale MSMEs, medium enterprises. So we have to go down to the base of the pyramid, and there is a money. There is a money for financial advisor also there.
Very nicely, Douglas sir, you have classified very important aspect of the micro and macro. I think you also told that the macro is facing a problem because they are housed in the rural areas and giving a very employment regulative GDP or something like that. Lekin our submission is whether this financial crisis is a long term or a short term. Whether you can overcome this financial crisis, because this NBFC has come into play a very important role. What you are also tell, you are talking about the co-lending aspect now. The banker is coming, where the NBFC can go to the rural places, something like that, and funds are available, and that too at cheaper rates. So, what are you feeling? You're talking about the inadequacy of the, you can say, funds, talking about the market, talking about the short-term liquidity problem by the SME sector. So, some way out is there. What are your suggestions, sir?
Sir, I very strongly feel that every problem has a solution, at least two or three solutions. So this would also have, this also has a solution. So now we have to get to basics very clearly. First and foremost, I will give an example that the food delivery companies have started funding the restaurants based on the order position. Okay. Now that is where this is the thinking, because food delivery companies need restaurants, they need good quality food, they need prompt servicing, so they want them to be strong. So they are giving funding based on the order history. Now there are so much information available in the public domain. We have GST, we have these digital order positions. We know the turnovers, we can find out. We have the civil reports, we have the credit histories. We know the person, micro unit person is supplying to, say, to Tata Motors. There are small units who are just providing the hinges, the nuts, and the bolts. So if someone is providing a service or a product to as big a company as Maruti or say Tata Motors or say Reliance, and if his product is accepted by these giants, it means he is making a very good product quality. So he is technically very strong. Now someone has to come. The first and foremost is that we have to have those digital platforms. We have to have financial literacy for these MSME entrepreneurs. We have to make them aware of various government schemes which are available, and there are a lot of subsidies available. Recently, I met a customer of Jurastil Bank in Surat, and in some of the projects, the government subsidy is 70%. But how many of our MSME entrepreneurs, probably those who are also on this webinar, they are available. And this information is available on the MSME's ministry site. But these people, because they are technocrats, they are not they don't have time for this. Because when we say 6 crore 33 lakh units and 11 crore employees, it means on an average, there are 2 employees in 1 micro unit or MSME. So they can't afford many people. So that's again, I would say someone. And who is that someone? Financial Advisor Association. So they, if they literate, they share the financial literacy, the banks, the NBFCs. If the food delivery company can fund a restaurant, why should a bank not go and do literacy programs for our MSMEs? But most of us are bankers or financial sector people. How many times we would have done that? So that is first, we have to upskill, we have to train them, we have to tell them how we generally say MPV of method, second method, we have to turnover method. See, now turnover method means 3 months working cycle, but the big company takes 4 months to pay to him. So turnover method is a failure. Somebody has to take a practical call. Then we go to Tandon committee recommendation, holding of 15 months, 2 years, 2 months, whatever. That also does not apply, because probably in 1975, Tandon committee recommendation didn't do it for the MSME. They did only for 15 industries in the beginning. Now we have to change that. We have to change that. We are not many people are prepared to change. We are still getting into the Tandon committee norms, which are obsolete, which have no, they have no meaning now. If I have an example in Dharavi, one boy, he was making leather bags, very good quality bags. I was financing him from Central Bank. When I came to Axis Bank, he came to meet me and celebrated to just, I would say very happily, he said, sir, I got a 50 lakh order for leather bags from a big departmental store. I know the name, but I'm not sharing. Now I told him, ki bhai dekho, be careful. Now 50 lakh order, you be careful when you are getting your money. If you are taking 50 lakh order, you are taking raw material, making bag, you have to pay to labor, you have to pay to supplier, and whether you are getting, he says, no sir, 60 days mein aayega. I still told him, I was very happy with him, but I told you take care. Now I'm just really sharing the real case. After 5-6 months, he came back again. He said, mera to problem ho gaya. I'm not getting even in 90 days. Because now store people say, 15 din to wo quality check mein laga de rahe. 15 days, I supply leather bags. They see, okay, abhi quality check nahi hua. They do quality check. Then they put on the store. They will sell. They will use the money for 15-20 days. And 3-4 months he will. And he got into financial problem. So if someone was there who could do factoring, who could do finance is receivable, then probably that liquidity problem would have been solved. So that is their realistic financial model has to be developed for these people. They don't know how to submit stock statement. They don't have balance sheets, etc. But wherever we have GST things, I think we can rely upon their track record and we have to provide that fund. Now, when I also said that 48% of exports of the country, they are huge ones. They are coming from MSME sector. And again, I would say the small and medium are only 3.5 lakh. The rest 630 are micro. How would they know if some very good handkerchief or very good brass plate made in Chamba in Himachal, if he has to export, he does not know where to export, how to export. Somebody comes, takes from him, pays him 10 rupees a thali and sells it 50 rupees. Because he does not know. If at all he exports, he does not know how to get funds, how to get it insured from ECGC, or what to do if money is not coming. Third, if at all is coming, today he's saying $1 is 70. When the money comes up to 2 months, it is 70, it is 75. He's very happy. If it is 69, he's gone into loss. So all those things, again, I would say there is no one state jacket solution. There has to be entire ecosystem and everyone. It is not only government. It is not only RBI, it is not only bank. Everybody has to join hand because the problems are of multi-dimensional. It is not only financial. I would say then the biggest role would be some advisor. Technically, these units are strong. They know how to make whatever they are making, whether they are making baskets, whether they are making handkerchiefs, whether they are making caps, whether they are making antique items, whatever they know it. to make it very, very nicely. But the rest of the things, to arrange finance for them, to bargain, how to bargain with the customers, how to factor their receivables, how to support them, how to help them in marketing their product, how to right price it. That is another thing, how to right price it. I visited a poultry farm, which is our customer. The one egg, he is selling 12 rupees. One egg, 12 rupees. We are getting 1 dozen 70 rupees. And the farmer who is doing that, he may be getting 40 rupees. The apple in Himachal, I belong from Himachal, I get 180 rupees medium quality, good quality 250 rupees. And if I want reasonably good, then it has to be 300 plus. But the farmer there must not be getting more than 50 rupees, because then he produces for full year and the customer pays 300, he gets 50 rupees. So 250 rupees is the supply chain benefit. So someone has to come there. Solution is there, and solution has to be found, because this is not only important for the SME entrepreneur, it is important for the customers of them. If today, if we can we imagine Pune automobiles industry without auto ancillary units there, we can't. It is important for the country. It is important for the banking sector, because the large customers, they benchmark their interest rate to the treasury, government treasury bills, and then they pay low. Today, the commercial paper are in 3 to 4%. We are still able to charge MSME 7, 8, 9%. So it is important for all of us. And I would say, Gupta Saab, that this initiative of financial advisory, if we run it for 3, 4 years, and we pick up some areas and compromise on our remuneration for 3, 4 years, and then play on volume, I think this is a way forward. There has to be hand holding, there has to be literacy, there has to be awareness, there has to be some kind of help for right pricing the product, for marketing help, for using digital platforms, for telling them go and get your receivable on trades discounting. So I think there is a solution, and this is very important for all of us. This is not only a topic, but this is the future for everyone.
Thank you, Dogra sir. I think you have touched a very right point from the beginning regarding the marketing aspects, and the roles of the financial advisor is important, because our MSME sector, even other sector also, don't aware about the government schemes also, and how to get the loan from the banking sector. And beside that, loan aspect, marketing is also important role. As you told us, Apple is paying 50 rupees and they are selling about 300 rupees. And this is also important aspect for the farmers. Sir. Sir, actually, COVID has played very important role to cut the cost. So I feel that some non-essential cost has been cut due to this COVID. Have any view, Douglas, sir, in that respect?
Yes, sir. This is non-essential. I would say one is in MSME sector. One is the working number of people who are working. That number has gone down, but that is, I would say, because the business size also has gone down. They don't have orders for some time, so they have cut those expenses. And the main, I would say, impact has come on the human resources, where people have been laid off. I think this sector is the most affected on this count, and some other essential, because the work from home, so those kind of savings. But I personally feel, sir, in MSME sector, that would not make a significant improvement in their fortunes. The problems lies elsewhere. There is a limit we can cut our expenses to. So we have to generate more income, and we have to right price, we have to market well. So to my mind, in case of MSME, there is not much to be gained by cutting some expenses, because in any way, they do not have very lavish lifestyles. They don't have very lavishly paid employees. They are all, I would say, in low bracket.
Thank you very much. Now I'm coming to CA, N.B. Shate sir. He is senior partner with NBS and Company and chairman of Triveni Messifine Limited, Triveni Resort and Inn Limited, Rupee Boss Financial Services Limited. After qualifying as a chartered accountant, he started his own firm in the name of N.B. Shetty and Company. Now NBS and Company. The firm has branches at Mumbai, Bangalore, Mangalore. NBS and Company specialized in financial and tax advisory in various large, mediums, and small industries such as oil explorations, textile industry, consisting of spinning and weaving, processing, textiling, building, construction, engineering, food processing, chemical hotels, and transport business in India, and so forth. NBS company has been appointed as auditor in various public sector companies by Comptroller of the Audit Journal of India, Government of India, Indo-Burma Petroleum Limited, National Film Development Corporation Limited, Bharat Textile Limited, Deposit Insurance Credit Guarantee Corporation, Reserve Bank of India subsidiary, Life Insurance Corporation of India, Oil and Natural Gas, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, Cotton Corporation Limited. He was also selected by the SEBI to conduct inspection of Tata Mutual Fund and Bank of Baroda Mutual Fund. The firm is a panel of the many nationalized bank and financial institutions like IDBI, IFCI. The firm specializes in advising NRI, foreign companies wanting to invest in India, and Indian companies setting up the company abroad. The firm has set up many overseas corporate bodies in Mauritius after taking the benefit of double taxation avoidance agreement. I think he's the right person to talk about the assets recovery, how the assets construction companies are in reviving a company from the financial crisis. I feel that ARC is also playing very important role because NPA increasing like anything. Once the ARC coming to the picture, he purchased the assets from the banking sector, then they are rehabilitated. And how does ARC is playing roles for the financial crisis, sir? Mr. Shetty, sir.
Thank you, Guptaji, and good evening to my co-panelists and the participants in the webinar. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. And I'm going to give a brief about ARC's role in reviving the crisis in the industry. To start with, the ARC has been started with the intention of shifting the bad assets from the public sector banks to the ARC. That was RCL was started right in 2002 or 3, and it was a kind of all the NPS have been shifted to ARC. Slowly, the role of ARCs have been changed. They over the years, enterprise has changed. The ARCs promoted by private sector have concentrated more on resolution and revival rather than parking the NPS in the ARCs and only collecting their fees. Recently, the RBI has constituted a committee under Sudarshan Committee, and they had made a lot of recommendations to revive and help the companies to come out of the crisis. ARC has become a resolution applicant under IBC Code 2016 through SR receipt sponsored by ARC. This would shift the focus from recovery to revival. Difficult for traditional lenders to do infuse additional funds if accounts are get into SMA or NPA category. The focus shift on recovery from recovery mode to ARCs can arrange for much needed additional funding for revival. Under the surface, the resolution is not permitted, and this is very important step in empowering ARC to enter early and help in resolution. 2 years moratorium is recommended on the proceedings against the borrower if the ARC takes up 60% of debt. Also, all payments to government dues. This will provide much needed time to concentrate on the options for resolution of debt and revival. All all SMA and not only NPAs will be considered for sale to ARCs. This will help the timely detection of companies' stress and avoid wastage of precious time in taking appropriate action for revival without waiting for account to become NPA. Exposure of 500 crore and above ARCs will be allowed to formulate a resolution plan satisfying the viability assessment criteria by RBI, June 7 circular. All categories of special mention accounts. SR 1585 changes are sought. Minimum SR holding by ARCs to be higher of 15% of lenders' investment in SR or 2.5% of total SR issued. This will improve the capital availability for the ARCs. The lender, 66% by value, can sell assets to ARCs to be binding on all lenders, 100% provisioning to act as deterrent of any descending lenders. Consistent of RBI Rule 7 circular. RBI will consider guidelines pertaining to sale and lease back of business of borrowers by ARC without taking over the management. This will help to continue the business rather than going for liquidation or other areas of management. Government of India consider mechanism to automatic transfer of charge without borrower's consent upon the sale of assets to ARCs. Modification will be required under Companies Act. This is companies gain invaluable time to set things right, market curve, and may become favorable as it happened in steel industry very recently. So overall, this the ARCs which will help the companies to revive and timely intervention to guide them to get into production rather than getting a collection mode. So with these few words, I will say that the ARCs have a very great role to revive the companies rather than liquidate and sell the assets.
Sarsa, very nicely you have covered. Like my major point is, it is said that about 75% of the unsuccessful entrepreneurs is closing down the business. And ARC can play a very important role to acquire the assets and put under the rehabilitation, even giving some loans to them. And there is assets management companies are also coming to existence who is advising them, the unsuccessful entrepreneurs, to how to rehabilitate. Sir, what is your view for that? Whether it is possible that unsuccessful entrepreneurs, after coming to ARC fold, can be rehabilitated, sir?
I mean, that's what I mentioned in the recommendation also. The companies which is coming under the fold of ARCs, there are two kinds of things which the viability should be there. If the viability is there, the ARCs are able to fund it and make it a successful venture. Suppose the viability is not there and the promoters are not handholding with the ARCs. Suppose if the ARC is ready to pay, say, 50% and 50% the promoters, that's this one, the stress asset promoters can bring in a kind of little equity out of their own fund. Then I think it will be viable for the companies to come out of the stress.
My point is that the bank is also making some study of the viability. If bank feel that the unit is not viable, they are not restructuring it, and they are telling, okay, you go as a liquidation or go sell to the ARC. Lekin after coming to ARC, whether that unit can be become a viable. So my point is that.
Yeah, but see, the question is that if the banks, the failure of the entrepreneur at the initial stages, maybe various reasons, maybe the technology failure, maybe the inadequate of capital. But once it comes to the ARC, and if they find the unit is viable, and if the promoters are handholding with them, and I think that can be revived. And this recommendation of the RBI is basically, as what your topic says, that it is for the revival of the crisis-laden industry rather than closing down and going for liquidation.
Sir, another issue point is how can building a strong communications rapid with the stakeholder and creditor can help in the crisis revival? What do you feel
Yeah,
that?
most of the time when there is a crisis in the business, people avoid talking to the bankers, submitting various kind of the audited balance sheet, the stock statement. So there is a distance between the bankers and the entrepreneurs. And if the entrepreneur at the right time goes to the bank and discusses in a kind of a detailed manner where is the crisis, how it has happened, what are the solutions he can bring, what help he wants from the bank. So that will mostly solve the problem. But most of the time, I find the promoters are, once the crisis starts, they shy away, or they will start, avoiding the bankers, open an account in some other bank, and operating in different way. Don't inform the bankers. So that because a lot of mistrust, and the bankers will not believe the promoter for a revival, or if he comes back after maybe few months. So there is a big gap between the entrepreneurs and the bankers' confidence in them. So best thing is to, in the initial stage, if he goes to the bank and explains what is the real problem and what help he wants from the bank, and be frank with them, I think it will help to solve the problem to some extent.
Thank you, sir, very much. I think you are covered very nicely. ARC can play a very important role for the revival of the sick unit, or you can say who are under the financial crisis. Now I'm coming to Mr. Sunil Chohan. Chohan,
Good.
he is
Yeah, good evening, sir.
he's the Chohan sir is the ex-general manager, MSME lending, FinTech, Central Bank of India. Enthusiastic general manager with 37 years of rich and varied banking administrative experience. Eager to contribute to the team's success through hard work, excellent organization skill, clear understanding of business and market training in leadership development, motivated to learn, grow, and excel in the banking sector, with focus of the cost optimizations, revenue earning, and constantly shaved cost while increasing profit. Excellent reputation for resolving problems, improving customer satisfaction, drive overall operational improvements, possesses ethics and integrity and zeal to develop, motivate, and empower team members to fully realize their potential and to maximize the same opportunity for the self as well as the organization. Strong people management skill, coaching skill, the problem solving skill, strong team building, interpersonal and communication skill, provided leadership and technical overhead development and monitoring junior speed of success, firmly believe in our attitude is your altitude. I think Mr. Chohan,
Yeah, thank you very much, Gupta, sir.
you worked
Uh,
very
for
greatly in Central Bank of India. I know him when he was general manager here looking after the SME sector, and he was instrumental to introduce the co-lending in the Central Bank of India. Mr. Chohan, what are
yeah,
the best solution that has helped you recover through the financial crisis? Please share example from your work experience. You have so much experience and in practical experience.
yeah.
So you can say something, sir. What is the best solution?
Yes, sir. Before going to the solution, just I would like to continue with the highlights, high points, which should not be practiced during the financial crisis, because respected Narang sir has covered how to expect whether our organization or company is leading to towards financial crisis, and if it is ready, what dues we have to perform. So after that, it is better if I take highlight points that which don't we have to perform, or which the practices we do not have to follow. As it is said that finance is the bloodline of any organization or any business, and And when it gets stuck up or flow start closing, stop, block it down, definitely it affects all the health of the personal as well as organizational health. So my appeal to all of the entrepreneurs who are present here or consultant advisors who are present here is that, first of all, the entrepreneurs should not lose their focus. They should and confidence. They should not be panic or in a stress situation. They have to always remember why they have started their business and where they want to go. So when the situation comes, do not ignore it. Ignore the situation will lead, you will stop the analyzing what causes, why this financial stress has come. It will not get analyzed. And most of the time, the entrepreneurs thinks I am running these small enterprises. I know everything about the unit or business. Don't assume that you know everything. There are many people in your office also, your consultants, consult to your advisors, consultants, bankers, your suppliers, so that they will give you a good sign of situation. Even there are companies which are having experienced staff as their board of directors. The board is having everything. They are having rich and varied experiences. So those companies which are having bigger size, they can refer for consultant and guidance to their board as well. The first most important thing is that when such panic comes, please do not go for expansion. Do not block your capital and recur the interest cost. Capital expansion, it will block your money and it will be very hard to you to get the liquidity. Do not increase your expenses. In spite, I will say, penny saved is penny earned. So what are your non-essential expenses that you can hold on for some time, that you should do it. Do not increase your debt. When such crisis comes, first person has to understand why this financial crisis has come, whether it is internal or external. If it is external, like that now COVID, the government and central bank of that country, that is Reserve Bank, comes to your rescue and gives some concessions, subsidies and intersubvention, everything. Or ECL GS1, ECL GS2, ECL GS3, 4, like that. But it is because of your internal problem only. The headache is entrepreneur and their consultant. So my sincere advice to is you do not increase your debt, because as you increase your debt, your interest burden will go up. Do not compromise with your quality. Whatever the business you have to sustain with a lower output also and lower production also, but do not compromise your quality, because do not overlook the social media in this situation. If you know, if something goes bad, nowadays everyone put everything negative on the social media. Within a one day, it goes to north to south, south to east, all these countries, and it will spoil your image. So do not compromise your quality. Do not overlook the speed of social media. It can damage your image. Do not divert much of your products. When we are in the financial crisis and facing the liquidity, what we think, what entrepreneurs think, that they start diverting their funds or diverting their products. For diverting their products also, they need some amendment in their manufacturing plant, and which is also costing them additional expenses. So I will appeal you, still you are stabilizing, don't take a step to diversify your products in that plant. First of all, you have to also ensure, do not neglect your insurance cover. Maybe it is your health, maybe it is your life insurance, or maybe your asset coverage. Because if anything goes in bad way, these are the insurance cover which will help you and you avoid you from the further financial stress. Sometimes we are entrepreneurs thinking that if I change the technology, I will get more products, I will add more products. But changing the technology, it requires money also. And if you are already overburdened, or in a financial crisis and your analysis ratios are not in proper shape, so how the financial institutions will give you the money? So my request is to, for a time being, hold on your expansion or your technological upgradations. Most important, my advice is do not stop repayment. If you stop your repayment, EMIs, credit cards, your civil score or your CIC score will go down. Your creditability will come into play. And whenever you are going to any institution, they will see your CIC score and it is not satisfactory. You will be not able to get any further assistance from any of the financial institution, including private, public, or NBFC as well. The most important point that Shetty Saab has also confirmed, do not stop communication from your employees, your stakeholders, your bankers, your creditors, as well as your suppliers. And always do not underestimate the interconnected systems. All these systems which I named you, employees, customer, creditors, bankers, suppliers, or our consultant advisors, they are having interconnected. They know what is going on in the organization or in a company. They can easily get the information. So my advice should be, you should be sincere enough because you are an entrepreneur and you have come on that or certain disciplines, principles. So when the crisis come, face it boldly. Go to each and every person, contact them, tell them, this is my problem. I need your help during this juncture. Everybody help you because everybody needs business. Bankers need business, suppliers need business, your purchaser need business. And if you are in a trouble, so definitely they will help you. But my only understanding is that you should transparent enough, sincere enough to disclose what is going on in your organization. Most important is that do not lose your cool. During this stress communication, what happens is that many things happens, many things misses, misfiring, everything is gone. So my honest appeal to you all is that keep focus what you have to do so that you can face this problem very boldly and come out of this trouble and once again start making the cash, because cash is the lifeblood of the company. Unless you generate the cash, nothing will happen. You should know which are the products which are burning your cash and which are the products which are generating your cash. That is what, sir, I wanted to tell you about what not to practice. And consider, if you allow me, that I can continue with that, my example.
You can.
Yeah.
No, Sunil, please.
Sir, we were having one unit, approximately 30 crores of limit. And they were doing very finely. They were very rich also. They were following all the norms and situations. They were dealing in chemical products. One night, all of a sudden, the factory, there was a big explosion. Everything was gutted into the fire. Approximation 40 crores of assets were there. We were having 25 crores of limit. And total damage. Then what he did is that, first of all, he has come approached to me, sir, chaliye, we have to go to our factory side and see what it has. So after seeing that, we have called the insurance company also, valuers also, and we have got it clear valuation and everything within 3-4 days. His losses was to the extent of every 100% raw material got gutted in the fire. 50% of his plant was damaged. Many major repairs was necessary, and many replacement machineries where he has to install. So insurance company has assured us, sir, there is a 22 crores of losses to them. And insurance cover was live at that time. My friend, just imagine if insurance cover was not live, what would happen to that factory? So insurance person said, sir, it will take 3-4 months to settle our claims. I said, I requested them, you analyze this your situation and give us a letter that they are entitled for approximately this much allowance, this much, 10-20% here or then claim, we don't mind. So they said that 22 crores they are eligible, but hardly they will get 19 crores around. So during that tenure, what we did is that at the Central Bank of India, as the assurance of the insurance company later, we have additionally given him short-term finance for a period of 1.5 years till he stabilized. And once this insurance claim received, after 6 months, with consultation with the party and taking into confidence into the party, how he will able to generate the cash. But during that period, he has never stopped repaying the installment, because we have also given him short-term finance out of which he was paying. So why he was able to do that? Because he was maintaining good books of records, monthly profit and loss and balance sheet he was preparing. He has insured all his mm, properties, raw material, and also asset also. He was repaying all his installment regularly during the crisis also by taking the additional help of the financiers. He has approached to his creditors as well as purchasers also that I will require the raw material when I restart, but I will not able to repay you or pay you after 3 to 4 months, as against one after 1 month or 45 days. And some of his customers has agreed to lend him in advance. So that is the value when you go and who are your stakeholders? That is your bankers, your those who have invested capital in you, your suppliers, your purchasers, and your customers. If you are remain sincere with them, definitely they will also come with you with sincerity and trying to help you. As of today, after 1.5 years, they have come back and started. It was incidents in 2016. By 18 end, they were at a normalcy level. Now they are coming with the similar plant in Wada with a huge capacity.
Very nice, Sunil sir. You have given one practical example. You are also mentioning about the insurance cover, which is the most important aspect, and the repayment, regular repayment, and don't stop communications. Technology, if you want to change the technology, you should have a total fund and should have proper planning, financial control, and budgeting. I think we are thankful to you for sparing your time, and I think highlighting. One question is available after Sunil. This is Venkatesh. He has some problem with some bank that under a EMI scheme that government has announced much before the loan period was completed. How do we operate when your banker, instead of getting guardian, before become the host? I think he has some problem with the banking sector because some bank has not followed the guideline of the RBI during COVID period. Have you any suggestions from him, Mr. Sunil?
Sir, definitely we have to follow the RBI or government guidelines. If
Right.
anything has not been followed up, and there may be, we are in service industry, there may be complaints. If
Right.
it has taken in the proper spirit and at a proper level, definitely it has a solution. Because after all, if it is out of the guidelines, definitely we cannot do anything. But if it is within the guidelines, sometimes what happens is that how to read that circular guidelines is very important. The dates and everything has been mentioned. It has to be understood by the borrower and banker in a right perspective. And I think if it is the case, and it is, if you are taken with the top guys, regional manager, zonal manager, or even they are having GM operation at every level, they will get the solution, sir.
Thank you very much. Uh, Mr. Dogra, sir,
Sir,
people are appreciating. Mr. Venkatesh, instead of one side, he's telling that some bank is creating a problem, on the side, he's uh, giving appreciation to you. Further, one Rishi, Rahul Mishra,
Anji, I've seen that.
you must have read his. You want to say something further?
I will say, I have, if Mr. Rahul is there, I have read his question. So
Yes.
now what he says is, but Mr. Rahul Mishra is saying that during COVID, lot of people have suffered losses and they are not in a position to pay their EMIs. So what we should do now? So Mr. Rahul, see, when there were impacts of COVID-19, government had come out with guidelines, deferment of EMIs, and also repayment, refunding of that compound interest. All those measures were taken by the government, and banks have done that. Still, if there is a genuine case where defaults are happening in EMI and there are losses, and you are sure that the customer otherwise is genuine, there is nothing stopping any lender to do the restructuring of that account. Only thing is that it could be an NPA, and after 1 year of implementation, you can then upgrade it. So those were the special guidelines of the government or RBI to assist the units because of COVID-19 pandemic. But if that is not sufficient, banks are within their rights to help further, and you can give them restructuring. You can give them time for repaying the EMI. You can extend their repayment periods. All that can be done. Only thing is, account will become NPA. The moment we restructure, account becomes NPA, but that's fine. The moment he pays and the restructuring proposal is successfully implemented, say for 1 year, depending upon the merits of each case, we can upgrade. So there is nothing to worry about. We can definitely help a good customer even beyond those incentives. I hope the point has been answered.
Very nice, very nice. Again, Venkateshwar is to you, Dogra sir. They are telling they are not in a mood to implement the Government of India mandate at the branch level. With whom do you fight? Definitely, you have to approach the higher authorities. No other solution for that. Greeting from the consultant for Negro for Dr. Daljit. You see very right, MSME and new entrepreneur don't know scheme, nor can afford financial advisor. I think this is also important issue. We can help him as a financial advisor for that. No issue.
So we can tell to this consultancy if there is something we can do. They can refer either to Resurgent, and if something we can do, I would do it on a basis. Whatever advice as a banker I can give to the unit, I'm available for that. I will be very happy to do this online, and if it is around Bombay, I can travel and help them. So that is a fact that the financial literacy needs to be strengthened in the MSME sector. Somebody should definitely come up with that kind of, because financial advisor definitely is not possible for micro unit particular to afford. But whatever we can do, I will, at my personal level, I will do.
Whatever we can do, we can also do it. No problem for that.
Right.
So another issue, what is ARC? That is Assets Reconstruction Company. That another issue what people are appreciating the efforts of Research in India, MSc Inside, requested to kindly organize Government of India base scheme funding sanction. We will try that we should come, and although we have done it so many scenes. I meant to organize seminar on Government of India scheme available to SME sector. We have done it, like still we have noted your point. We will try to do it. Very practical insight and shared by the seminar available. I think other things are okay, normal, and people are appreciating this webinar. I'm thankful to you. And sir, Narang sir, have any point to say, sir? Any last advice, sir?
Yeah, when you were talking about Venkatesh, I just replied to him that getting finance as per Government of India guidelines is his right. You have to fight for your right, raise that issue to zonal office, regional office level, go to GM priority sector, and I have told him that Devashish Mukherjee is ED in Canara Bank. He was my GM. He is a very nice person. He knows credit. I told him that if possible, approach him. Tell him that this is the advice given to him, and he will definitely help him. Because getting finance, people down the level are risk averse. They don't have so much of exposure in banking. They do not know how to monitor, so they get scared about the vigilance issues. But then I say fight for your right. Don't give it up and go up to ED level. That is what my advice to him was, that he should not leave the things at that, because you have to fight for your right always. not an issue.
Very
That's
nicely, sir. Why you have told ED also, sir, which we don't want to say anything. It's okay, sir. Thank you very much for your advice. Any other advice to your participants, sir, Narang sir? With your experience, anything you want to give some advice to them?
What I'm saying is that MSME is a very important, like Mr. Dogra said, a very important sector. People are not aware of the schemes, as I am seeing that they are not aware of the various schemes which has been formulated by the government or the Reserve Bank or by the banks. So some consultant, some seminar should be organized to make them aware how they should resolve their issues. They can have a session in which they only bring the problems to us and we would resolve their issues. If let us have one session about resolving the problem. Let them give the problem to us beforehand, and in the webinar we will, for the benefit of everyone, give details about how it should be worked out, how things should be done, and what is right and what is not right. Because bankers are supposed to help and they should help. It's a service industry. We cannot shy away from our responsibility. That account will become NPA, so we would not finance. So that is not that issue. Because lower level attitude makes a difference. That's what my advice is.
Thank you, Narang sir. Thank you very much. I think you have rightly touched. All problems should be taken, and one day the webinar should be taken out to all the problems. Now, Dogra sir, you want to say something?
My request to all the entrepreneurs who are there. So we are present in Bombay, Pune, and Surat. If any kind of banking facilities required, please approach us. We visit our website, and we shall be more than happy to help. We are a small bank, but we are very, very competitive in pricing, and our TATs are also best in the industry. So, Gupta sir, thank you very much for the platform. I'm using for Western Bank also.
No, sir. Actually, lastly, I want from Dogra sir, you want to say something. I think you have already told your bank is coming and under your leadership. I know your dynamic leadership, and you have turned the bank even small bank to going to be large bank for also. That I understand from you. And how you are doing it. So really excellent job you are performing with the cooperative bank also, sir. Have you any advice to the participants, sir, Ms. Dogra, sir?
Sir, my advice to the entrepreneurs are you are doing a great job. Definitely, you are very, very strong on technical aspect. Definitely, you are making very good products. Please keep 2-3 things in mind. Take some advice. It may cost you something, but take some advice and focus on marketing. Spread your risk. Don't have only 1 or 2 customers. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Keep on doing something additional customers. Nurture that and use digital platforms. Use digital platforms and approach banks for. I would say banks are very, very dependable partners, and banks have a lot of patience also to support the units. I would request and look at the scalability also. And those of you who have time, I would say watch the programs like Tank Shark and all that. You'll get very good ideas, because there some of the points which come is profit margin and the scalability. Because that is the answer, and how much you can digitalize and scale up. Those are the points which are very, very important for our sustainability. Best product we can make, but if I'm not able to market it, problem. If I'm not able to write prices, again a problem. I'm losing on my profit. So for that, please take advice of a financial advisor. That's not an expense. That is an investment. I always used to tell in all my banks, the training of the staff is not an expense, it is an investment. And we are doing that in the Western Bank also. And I think I have increased the training of people 300 to 400%. Every year is increasing. So taking a good advice, good financial advisor advice, it will cost something, nothing comes free. But take that as investment, not an expense. That is my request.
Thank you very much. Narayana sir, you want to say something?
Yeah, in case of company under crisis, so as I told you, one is you have to be very transparent with the bankers. Second thing, that when there is a debt, you have to try to reduce the debt. In this pandemic, people who have got less debt, they are very happy. And in case of financial crisis, if you've got an asset, like you've got an office or you've got a house, today if you sell the house and the office and go for a rental, it will be much cheaper. because that will cost you 3 to 4% per year. The rent is around 3 to 4% in Mumbai. So if you sell the office or the house or whatever, that you reduce the debt, and your cost reduction in case of interest will give you a lot of increase the profitability, or in the crisis management can be done. So people should think that how to reduce the debt and how to reduce the cost at this pandemic or when there is a crisis. And in spite of, it is a strong decision to sell your house or office, because in India we have got a very high position about the fixed assets. We don't like to lose the assets. But I think that is a right decision one can take at the right time to reduce the debt. I think that will help to avoid the crisis, in the financial crisis in the business. And when you make money, you can very well buy that assets back in a good time. I feel that, if somebody can think in that direction, I think it is a very good decision. And the transfer to the bankers and discussing with the bankers, as told by Mr. Sunil, all the stakeholders consulting and taking them to confidence will help you to reduce the financial crisis. That's my advice to the listeners and the entrepreneurs.
Thank you very much. Sunil, you want to say something? Sunil?
Yes, sir. Since I was heading the fintech division in the bank, and here also I am heading in NBFC. Now everything after this COVID also, everyone has adjusted to the digital economy. So like that, our entrepreneurs should be also more digital savvy. Now the companies or NBFCs bank have started digital processing of application, from processing of application to the documentation and disbursement, especially particularly in personal loan, housing loans, and vehicle loans. Slowly and gradually, it will spread across to all the facilities. So my earnest appeal or request to all of you that please focus on adoption of digital technology in the banking industry also, or in your financials also.
Thank you, Sunil. Thank you, Sunil.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
actually, time is going very fast. About 38 minutes, I have exceeded the time limits, because I'm still thinking that there are so many questions we are going asking the panelists. Panelists are very, very, you say, eminent and experienced person. So I am thankful to see Narang sir, who has given a new definition: cash is a blood in the system. Thank you very much, sir. I think
Thank you.
your all advice will go a long way. It will be beneficial to our listener, to our members, to the consultant. Even so many bankers are also listening to you, sir. So we are thankful to you, sir. I'm thankful to Dogra sir. Dogra sir has given a new definitions. I have about 110 webinar in the different subject under the Research in India banner, and we are this fifth webinar. And he is given coming out the micro and macro. I think macro, I think, is an important definition which you are telling about. 99% of the macro is taking a lending from the organized sector and paying a huge interest rate. And they are playing very important role in the development of the economy of the country. So even the participants asked so many questions from him, appreciated his viewpoint. So I am also thankful to Mr. Dogra. So I know you from the last about 35 years. So I know your capacity, capability, and handling credit portfolio, especially in that respect. Thank you, Dogra sir. I'm thankful to Mr. Shetty, Narayan Shetty. He's visionary. So when I asked him, so he said, okay, Gupta, once you invited me, I will come. Even when I have given the banner in the public, so people were asking me whether Shetty sir will come. He's so busy man. Whether he will spare his time 1 hour. When you ask him for 1 hour, you're taking 1.5 hours more than that. So thank you, sir, For ARC,
Thank you.
I have no word to express. Gratitude from the resurgent side, from the our association side, sir, for giving your blessing and giving your viewpoint, how ARC can be helpful to revival of the SIG industries, or you can say
Thank you.
financial crisis. Thank you very much, sir. Sunil ji is my old friend. When we are in Central Bank of India, we are with us. I also know his capacity, capability, and he also brings very important issue of the insurance cover. I think in all our webinars, we never talk about the insurance cover. And he given the example also. If insurance cover was not there, then what will be the position of that person who has lost a huge money? And how the banker coming into their position to help them? And their unit has been revived. Thank you, Sunil,
Thank you very much, sir.
for your experience sharing with you with us. I'm thankful to you. I'm also thankful to my team behind this webinar because my technical persons are there. My person who is drafted this agenda, talking points, other things, they are behind the scene. So I am thankful to Rohan and Mini Jain and my IT teams for making this webinar a successful webinar. Above all, I am also obliged to the participants, my member of the associations, my consultant banker friends, who always give me blessing and good wishes to hold such webinars. Today also somebody were telephoning me in other lines that you must hold next week a similar program for that. And Narang Sahib also suggested one a very important topic. All the problems should be collected and should be taken under a webinar. I think this is also very important clue which Narang Sahib has given. I will try to do something for that aspect. So I'm thankful to my eminent speakers, participants, my team who was doing always supporting me. So with this word, I close this session. I'm express my gratitude again to all everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you to
Thank
everybody.
you. Best of luck. Thank you. Best of luck to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.